Hi guys, Goinggreenmom here. I wanted to share with you my go-to low histamine meal. This is the meal that I used when I first got diagnosed with histamine intolerance and found the suggestion on YouTube. I wish I could find the video and link it for you, but I have not been able to find it since. Basically suggesting that you pick one thing from each category and eat that until your symptoms subside. So for me, I chose boneless, skinless chicken breast that I cook from frozen in my Instapot. I use the setting for meat or stew, which I believe is 35 minutes by default, but it may have been 25 and I upped it. I am not sure. I do a quick release on that and let the pressure out. And then I divide it between usually 4 or 5 meal prep containers. The containers that I use are about 2 inches deep and probably 4-ish by 6-ish inches. I find these containers work really well because it's a shallow enough container to be spread out and heat evenly when I reheat it either in a microwave or a toaster oven. Whereas if it's in a jar or a deeper container, it takes longer. So as you can see, the chicken is done. I just pull it all out into one container, and then once I get the rice going, I will go ahead and divvy that out between, in this case, 4 meal prep containers and the plate I am going to eat that off of because I was hungry. So I do use white jasmine rice. I buy it in bulk. Here I am using a 1/4 cup measure, mainly because it is easy to fit in my rice container. It's a good multiple for me because I use a 1/2 cup of water when I'm cooking the chicken. And then the rest of this liquid is just the broth from the chicken as it thawed out and cooked. That is the broth that it produced. That will add some flavor to your rice. And then I typically will season, I guess, the meal after I heat it up with butter and salt and pepper. I did find out when I was still working that iodized salt can be a histamine liberator. So be careful with that. I typically use pink Himalayan salt. It tastes really good. Some people do better with sea salt though. So just pick whichever one doesn't seem to cause you problems. I do just divvy this out between the containers, making sure that the lids will fit on. That's why you see me breaking some of these up. They were thicker than what would allow me to get the lid on. And then, so I'm doing 4 containers, and then what I am going to eat. This is probably a little bit more chicken than I would need, but, well, I have 2 cats that always like to share. They have me trained well. So once I get the chicken out of the pot, I do put the rice in. I don't add any more liquid. I just added about 1.5 cups of rice. When I was working in the kitchen, they would have us put about 1 inch of water above the rice in the pan. Because this is a pressure cooker, it's not having it doesn't have anywhere to steam to, really. So I don't do quite that much. I do about 1/2 inch above the rice, and then I cook it. It kind of depends. Sometimes I'll do their rice setting, which is 12 minutes on low pressure, or if I'm in a hurry, their cheat sheet says 4 minutes on high pressure for a white rice. So they have different, they also have the different ratios for how much water to use if you want to just do the rice, which is what I would do in some instances. So as you can see, I'm just adding that to the meal prep containers. I do wind up with more rice than what I need for just that amount of containers, but I don't want to add more because that is an awful lot of rice. And I should not really be eating that many carbs. So I add it to other containers and freeze those and use those for snacks when I'm especially hungry or need something quick to eat and don't want to cook something. And then for the vegetables, I just use bagged frozen vegetables because they are usually frozen at their peak. So they are going to be doing well on the histamine levels because they haven't sat in a store for ages developing histamine or anything. So I can just pull those frozen vegetables out, cut them open, pour them into the containers, and then once I get the containers packed, they go back in the freezer, and I leave them out for probably about half an hour, just long enough that when I put them in such a cold location, they aren't going to break because they are glass containers. And then when I pull them out, you can use the microwave or a toaster oven from cold. You do not want to preheat the oven because it's frozen and your glass will break. So a cold toaster oven and just heat them up.